Namaste. Food has a great importance when we talk about yoga. The mind body connection has a deep impact on the body, and what we take inside the body as food or nutrition has a great impact on mind and body. So both work in harmony. It's very important about understanding about what we are eating, how we are eating, how much we are eating, when we are eating, because all of it is important to have a good mind and body connection. For a yogi, it's very important to understand all these aspects of what amount of food he should have or she should have, what they should avoid, what timings they should be avoiding. Because if, for example, if you had too much of food, it's very difficult to have even a normal breathing. Forget about you able to concentrate on yogic breathing and using all your internal energies and derive that from your food. So it's very important to understand all these aspects. So today I'm going to talk about food habits basically and several aspects of it. Now, as we already know, we have six tastes in Ayurveda. We have sweet, sour, salty, pungent, astringent, bitter. We would not believe, but all these have different impacts on our body. And our body at different points of time requires different kinds of food, right? I'll just give you a small example about when we have viral infections. When there's a virus in our body and we are having some viral infections and having fever because of that, our elders would always suggest us to have something bitter. We have bitter gourd juice or something which is bitter that actually helps in healing. So these tastes in themselves are quite strong sources of energies. When we talk about combination of food, we will talk about how there are some food which are basically sweet, and a combination of a sweet with sweet doesn't yield with the better results. Like giving just a small example of having shakes. You're combining your sweet milk itself basically is of sweet nature, so combining milk with fruits which are again of very basic sweet nature basically. So we will talk further when we talk about combinations. But for now, we are talking about several laws that are there for food. So going back to when we were discussing about several tastes under Ayurveda, and as we discussed how bitter helps in healing, we always have to understand that every tastes, they have several energy parts and energy organs, and specifically located to it. Like if you are feeling lungs, like you feel there's a lot of mucus, so you're feeling you're not able to breathe better, spicy food will always help you and open up your lungs, and you feel that okay, yeah, you're able to breathe better. So spicy food is always good when you want to open up your lungs, and it's good for the lung health. When you talk about sweet, sweet is good for the stomach. Like you must have heard from your elders, like when you feel acidic, sometimes they would suggest you to, if it's too burning kind of a sensation in your stomach, they would suggest you to take milk, because milk is a little bit sweet, and it kind of cooler in nature than other types of food. um, when I talk about bitter, we already had a word about it, but bitter is always good for liver and pancreas. So when we talk about that taste of food, it will always help those organs. When we talk about salt, salt is specifically very good for kidneys. So not too much in a quantity. You would have heard that when we have pickles, we have papad, they have too much salt in it. So when we talk about a quantity, we'll talk about quantity, then we'll understand that how quantity is also important in taking in what food you are taking in. It's not just like, okay, someone told me salt is good for kidneys, so I just keep on grabbing it and eating it. So no. After every point of time, there is a limit after which it actually starts becoming harmful for your body. rather than being helpful. So that is something that has to be taken care of. Further, as we said, we are going to talk about laws of nutrition. So I would say the first law is the nature of your food. What you're having, what kind of food it is. So when we talk about nature of food, we have sattvic food, we have rajasic food, and we have tamasic food. So what are these foods? You must have heard a lot about sattvic food. Sattvic food has a great connection between your yogic lifestyle, your yoga, or your pranayama. Why does it have that? There's something called pran foods. They are something called dead food. So when you talk about pran foods, anything that can reproduce or that is live, seeds, for example, would be called as pran food. But something that is not able to reproduce would be called as a dead food, like something called bread. So these kind of food have direct connection with how you lead your life, how well you can lead your yogic life, and how well you can do pranayamas and your other asanas, because it's all connected. The kind of energies that you get from them, it's all connected. So coming back to when we are talking about that, we have sattvic food, we have rajasic food, and we have tamasic food. Um all your vegetables, your fruits, your dairy products would come under your sattvic food. So you would say sattvic food, the people who lead very simple life don't indulge into such, like, we have kind of a lifestyle where we indulge so much into pizzas and burgers and pastas and stuff like that, which all are kind of your dead food. So when you talk about leading a sattvic life, they would always focus more on the different types of veggies to be included in their food. They would have more of fruits, they would have more of milk and other dairy products like curd and everything in their food, and they will keep it very simple, very simply made, not too many spices and stuff like that. Even when you go for any ashrams, and you would have heard your friends, if they have went for any spiritual vacationing to any ashrams anywhere in India, they would know that the kind of food served there is almost has zero, no spices, and they would just give you some salt, maybe a black salt or something to spread on their food, and it would be as per your taste. They wouldn't give you any pickle, they would not give you anything that is high in sodium or salt content. So it's just basically trying to keep it simple, keeping it very close to how they are naturally obtained from the nature. So mixing it with too many spices and everything just kills their natural taste and quality, and the effect that they would have on our body. So that is something which to be taken care of. When I talk about Rajasic food, you would be surprised to know that tea, coffee, all these also form, even for sometimes garlic. Or say a few examples would be like your eggplant. All these are Rajasic food. uh, few years back, when I wasn't aware about these aspects of food, and someone had actually told me having too much of eggplant, we have this recipe in India where we kind of roast the eggplant and then remove the peel, and then we make kind of veggie with it, with onion and ginger and spices and stuff like that. So I'm too fond of having that. But not very long ago, somebody actually told me that having too much of eggplant is not good for health. So now when I went through this course and I understand why it is, like, rajasic is something which is not something that you should be consuming too much in quantity or making yourself habituated to it. Something like tea. Anyway, I think in almost every Indian household, you would have someone starting their day with tea, and they might even feel like not too good the day when they didn't have tea and coffee. So it kind of makes you habituated to it. If I talk about habits, even smoking is rajasic. So this is something which kind of stimulates you, makes you habituated, gets into make you have that habit of having it. Everybody knows about smoking, so uh, it makes you follow it. So that's kind of a rajasic quality of that food. Sometimes tamasic in something which actually lowers you down. When I talk about tamasic, I had this confusion in mind that basically meat and eggs are tamasic, but actually I got to know during this course that meat and eggs are actually rajasic food and not tamasic. When I talk about tamasic, it will be more of like your alcohol, that makes you feel lower. When you have alcohol and exceeding certain quality, what do you feel? You start feeling dizzy. You forget about what's happening around you. You kind of don't are not in your complete senses, maybe. If you have to make a decision at that point of time, maybe you will not be able to make it, because you're not in your complete senses. Your mind, body, soul, everything is not connected at that point of time. So that would be something like tamasic food. But we have to also understand, you will say, oh, meats and eggs and everything is rajasic, so there's no harm in it. When we say rajasic, there's very close connection between rajasic and tamasic food. Why? Because excess of rajasic food becomes tamasic. Excess of smoking, excess of meat, excess of eggs, excess of tea, coffee. If you have these food in excess, they would become tamasic food. So it's very important to have this particular thing in mind, that what food you're going to have will have direct impact on your mind and body, and which is going to affect your yogic life. So keeping it simple, not getting habituated to anything, not having anything in access is again the key, the word here. So, as I already mentioned, if you have to really lead a life of a yogi, you have to be more bended towards sattvic food and keeping it very simple. And in your childhood, you must have heard about this thing like milk is a wholesome food or stuff like that. So yes, even Ayurveda says that milk is 100% good food. There's no doubt about milk. So milk, curd, these are all 100% good food. So this is very important to understand. So the first thing that we are understanding it about the nature of food, like how the foods are, the types of food and stuff like that. We should also understand the aspect that two people can have a different lifestyle. I'm leading a lifestyle where I need to get up, or I get up and just sit on my computer and just work throughout the day, and I'm sitting and there is no laborious work. But when I'm talking about a laborer, who is carrying bricks and who is carrying so many heavy stuff throughout the day, and he's doing all kind of work that's very heavy in nature and requires a lot of energies, for them the food habits can be different. Because again, if I'm hungry and I can just grab something and eat, for them, they might have food in the morning and then they'd keep working throughout the day, and they have to survive on those energies, and that too doing a work which requires a lot of energy. So for them the food can be different. uh, so when I talk about rajasic food can impact me, who is having a very sedentary lifestyle, differently, and can affect somebody else who is doing a very laborious work differently. Um, Say something like eggs. So eggs can, if had an excess, might have negative impact on me, but somebody who is doing a very laborious work, for them they might be able to balance it because of their heavy physical work. So food habits should also be dependent on what kind of work you are doing, and how is your day like. Is it more laborious? It is more like a sitting job, or what kind of job you're doing, right? So So going back, we saw how there are different tastes in Ayurveda, how each taste is connected with different organs, and how you can use them for making your organs better. We also saw that there are basically three types of categories. If I say about food, we have sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, and several other aspects of it. We've also seen that how your physical work or your daily life is connected with what kind of food you have. It can be good for one, it cannot be good for the other. So we move to the second law of under Ayurveda, which is called processing of food. uh, every food that you get around, you might not just eat it. Like, you will not eat wheat, whole, the atta that we say, how when you grind the wheat and you create atta, you will not have it as it is. You will make something out of it, like bread or chapatis or something like that. So there are different ways in which you process food. This There can be a cow milk and buffalo milk, so it's not like you directly get the milk and just grab it and drink it. You might have it cold, you might mix it with something, you might warm it, and things like that. So that is what we are trying to understand here, about that, how a particular food is processed so that it's better for our body, it's better for our stomach to process it. First thing we are going to talk about here is milk. Very important. These days, there has been a trend that you just grab the milk from the refrigerator, you pour it in the bowl, just put some cereals and stuff like that, and that becomes your breakfast. I agree that's quite quick, but there are two things that are not good in here. Number one, cold milk. Taking a milk straight away out of the refrigerator, not even waiting for it to become in the room temperature, just grabbing it, drinking it, is really harmful for your stomach. If I if I talk in the language how Ayurveda says it, it's actually abuse to your stomach. So cold milk is a strict no-no. What we have done next is we have just grabbed something, a packaged item, that's the cereals, which are kind of dead food, and then we have combined it with milk and we just had it. We might believe, we might be made believed that we are having a wholesome breakfast, but no, we are not. Our stomach would not be happy with what we had in the morning. Best is, of course, best would be to kind of warm it up. Even if you cannot warm it up because of any limitations, it's good to keep it in the room temperature for some time and then have it. So say you're traveling somewhere and uh, you want to just have milk, it's better to you if you buy, just keep it for some time, let it come to your room temperature, and then have it with something. Not just taking it from the refrigerator and just having it cold. So you would say, just think, when you're talking about this, it's more about your cold coffees, your cold shakes, stuff like that would also not be good for us. So I would say yes, anything that's very cold, which involves cold milk, is your stomach wouldn't be happy having it, as it is. Another aspect that you can do with milk is, while milk is a little heavy in nature, so when you combine it with something, like my kids would love to have a banana shake. But as I mentioned earlier, fruit, banana has a sweet nature, and milk is also sweet in nature. So combining two sweet base foods makes it all the more sweet and very difficult for the stomach to digest. And so to make so what would be the better option? Better option would be to take milk, warm it up, maybe put some spices, say turmeric or ginger powder. So adding some spices in it helps it to be digested very nicely and quickly in the stomach. mm, in India, especially, when somebody is not feeling too well, they normally tell them to, put some turmeric in the milk and have it at night, maybe, a warm milk, which helps them heal, because turmeric has some antioxidant qualities, so it helps them heal. And not just that, as a warm milk, it's very easy to digest for the stomach, and also it's believed that it gives you nice sleep at night because of the warm milk and turmeric and everything. So the point here is that if you want to have milk, try to have it not cold. Warm it up. If you're warming it up, better would be if you can add some spices in it, like ginger powder and turmeric. If you don't have anything where you can warm it up, what you can do is you can at least keep it in a room temperature and have it, so that the stomach is not troubled in all this process. There's something called A2 grade milk, which is available, and uh, we all are from different countries. I don't know whether it's available in your country or your place or not, but try when you are buying milk, you see that it's mentioned A2 grade, which is been the better milk in terms of digestion and everything, which the stomach is able to digest very quickly. Second thing that I want to talk about is rice. I think almost every household, whether it's an Indian household or whether a North American, all households do have rice with some or the other things, maybe curry or just dry or just with veggies. So these days we are becoming very modern and our lifestyles are becoming very modern. So what we do is we just bring out the rice and just wash it and just put it in the rice cooker, would put the required amount of say required amount of water, and just close the rice cooker and it would be ready and we just eat it. Just to make it clear, all these process is not how a rice has to be treated, especially when you want to make it very easy for your stomach to digest, or very important is to have all the nutrients of the rice.